Larry spotted Purdy's talent before anyone and has been driving the Purdy train relentlessly. I've been the Purdy skeptic, and I guess I feel somewhat vindicated, even though it's only been 3 games. So what I want to do is ask the number one Purdy backer and the person who saw it first for a real brutally honest evaluation of this last 3 games. And the question I want you to think about and address when you're giving you this evaluation is the decline of his play the last 3 weeks. Is it his fault alone, or is it a manifestation of what's going on with the offense and the team in general?
It's a great question. You got to go game to game. 3 weeks ago against the Browns, they're riding high. They beat Dallas. They're feeling good. They roll in there against what I thought was a very good defense who seemed very prepared for them. And I thought the Browns played a really smart game, and it was a kind of a mucky day, and they lost a couple guys. I thought he played marginal in that game, but I thought that was his worst game. Then he bounces, and to me, that was against the number 1 D. Then he bounces back the next week against Minnesota. Going to the 4th, he's completed 85% of his passes, and he's withstood their Danielle Hunter and that whole line, and they're right there. They hadn't produced a lot of points. They'd had some turnovers, but then all of a sudden, he throws a couple picks late in that Minnesota game after the quarterback sneak, and they lose the game. And then this week, I thought kind of the same thing. I kind of felt like it was jailbreak on Brock most of the game, and he made a number of plays, but he also turned the ball over 3 times and could have been 4. So, it wasn't a good performance. I mean, there's just no way around it. But as far as, long term, I do think he's the best quarterback they have. I wouldn't suggest, hey, you know what? I think Darnold's going to do better. I saw a guy move around yesterday, get rushed pretty relentlessly. The line's not doing a great job, and he ran for a bunch of yards. He was their leading rusher. He accounted for 422 yards. To me, the worst mistake was the last mistake. Just because, floated ball with a nylon on it to, in the middle of the field, late in the game, all kinds of defenders around. Yeah, I mean, it just seems that seemed really low percentage. I would encourage everybody to watch the Kurt Warner breakdown on him, because he was very kind of positive about Purdy's day, but he seemed to blame spacing, route combinations, and things like that for a lot of what Brock went through. I'm not, he's got to own it, and of course he does. But I thought overall he looked pretty good in the last 2 games until the 4th, and then unfortunately it's a turnover league, and if you turn the ball over, you lose games, and if you don't turn it over and you play decent football, you typically win. And he turned it over, and they lost. It's not the only reason they lost, but that's part of the reason they lost.
It's the biggest reason they lost, because turnovers really are the biggest reason. He's committed 6 in the last 3 games, 4 in crunch time of the last 2 close games, which is disconcerting, considering he's been up so much. I mean, blowing teams out. Now that he's behind a little bit, in positions to lead comebacks, down 5, down 7, that's when the turnovers have really popped up, and he hasn't been in these situations very much in the NFL. And then you see that he's at a 5.1% turnover worthy percentage, which is 6th most in the NFL, behind Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, Gardner Minshew, Tyson Bagent, and PJ Walker. So it's got to come back to the turnovers. They're popping up. They were there in training camp. They weren't there for the first 10 games of his career, but now they're roaring back into the picture. And again, I ask you, is this turnover issue in particular his fault alone, or a manifestation of what's going on in the offense?
I think it's football, so it's always going to be some combination thereof. But I mean, he would never run from it. The guy's got 5 picks in the last 3 games,
and a fumble,
and he's got, once again, you take care of the football, you typically win games. He missed the handoff to Mitchell. At that point, he should have just thrown that ball into the ground and gone on to the next down, or run it in for a touchdown, and he wasn't going to run it in and didn't throw it in the ground, and then decided to pass it even though it would have been a penalty, and then got it picked. So he took a missed handoff. He had 3 mistakes on 1 play, and that was in the deep red zone. That's a crusher, as you know. So
yeah,
that was a huge play. But I thought the other one was worse because he kind of lost account of the defender. The second interception was the worst one. The Mike linebacker, Logan Wilson, drops. It's in a crowd. It's across the middle. It didn't have tons on it. And Logan Wilson kind of jumped in front of it right there with Jennings and makes the pick. I thought that was, you got to know where that linebacker is and how deep he is. So I don't know. That to me was the one that was more bothersome than the first. But overall, I'd have to say, from what I saw, I mean, the Niners lost that game on the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line got beat. Their defensive line never won, except for Armstead a couple times. And it was just a long day at the line of scrimmage, and the Bengals were the better team. And then Burrow was spectacular. I mean, Burrow completed 18 or 19 straight against this defense. And I don't know if you saw Richard Sherman today, Grant, but man, he's like, hey, there's going to be changes. And I don't know what the changes he's referring to are, but there's a few that probably need to be made on the defensive side if this thing is going to get going.
The defense wasn't good, but the defense did force 2 turnovers. I mean, the issue why the Niners lost is what Kittle said. They said, we turned the ball over 3 times. That's a nice way to say that Brock turned the ball over 3 times. And I think what I feel about Brock is that he's a playmaker. He makes good plays with his legs. He made a number of great plays with his legs. And not just running, but like getting out of the pocket and throwing back to his left. That touchdown pass was beautiful. But I think what I feel is that despite all those good plays that he made the last 3 weeks, they couldn't crack more than 17 points. Why? Well, he's making too many negative plays. 6 turnovers in 3 games. That takes a lot of points off the board. And that's concerning to me because I always felt that those turnovers in training camp would pop back up. I always feel like you play how you practice, or you practice how you play, whatever the phrase is. And I feel like this is the Brock Purdy I was concerned would pop up. That's how I see it. This is in him.
I just think that, this is just the natural maturation of a young player. I really do. I think you have good days, you have bad days, especially early on. This guy's still a relatively young player, but to me, the things that he does well are things that are really valuable. And I think that he's got enough arm. He's never going to have the big arm. I mean, but I think he's got enough arm to win in the NFL. I just think it's a matter of, for him, being more precise with the football and being really smart. I mean, he's a competitive guy who wants to win. He's going to put the ball out there. He's going to throw the 50-50 ball and lean on his receivers to make a play for him sometimes, but you can't do that in the middle of the field with the game on the line in the fourth quarter, but at the same time, if you look at his numbers for the year, what does he have? 12 touchdowns and 5 picks or 4 picks or 5 picks and 12 touchdowns.
Right.
That's still not bad. It's not.
So let me ask you a question.
I think that's the best. I also think he's the best they got, to be honest.
Well, let me ask you this though. If he goes into the bye week, starts against Jacksonville, commits 2 or more turnovers and loses, and the Niners score 17 points in offense again, would you bench him?
If it depends what it looks like.
That could happen.
I mean, it really depends what it looks like. I mean, what I saw in this game was a lot of free rushers, a lot of heat on the quarterback, a lot of people sprinting at the quarterback, a 49er team that couldn't run the ball. And sometimes when they did, they got penalties. So he was behind on the chains. He also made a number of really, really good plays yesterday. He just made the 2 crushing turnovers. And that's really it. I mean, there's only 10 possessions in the NFL. So if you have 3 turnovers and you take 30% of your possessions and you turn them over to the opposition, your chance of winning go way, way, way down. Just the way it is.
So let me just answer the question.
I would not. I'd stay with him. I would stay.
Oh, okay. You'd stay with him. I'd bench him. If he turns, yeah. You got to stop, man. You need a week to watch because you're losing games. You used to have it. I don't know what's going on with Brock Purdy, but I'm not putting this on the rest of the offense. Something's up with him. You take away Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, and now he has to do a little bit more. He's in closer games. And when it's, crunch time, he just gives the ball away every week. That's disconcerting. If he does it again and they lose, that's enough. He needs to take a week off at least and see what you got in Sam Darnold, because at least maybe Sam Darnold might not turn the ball over for a week. That's his job.
I mean, here's the thing. If we're going off the record, this is the record. Darnold has 61 touchdowns and 55 picks.
He hasn't played with this team yet.
Starts.
And he's the next Sam Darnold.
He throws 1 interception per start.
He hasn't played with this team yet, though.
Okay, but
Just saying.
also, Brock to this point, and even yesterday, he completed what percentage of his passes? Kind of a high percent. Darnold has never completed 60%. I mean,
So you're gonna
I
let
know he's a
Brock
bigger arm
Purdy.
guy, and I guess if you just want to say, whatever, but do you really think that Sam Darnold is a better prospect than Brock? Because I really don't. I mean,
So there's nothing Brock Purdy could do to play himself out of this job because Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold.
No. I mean, no, for sure, Grant. But I mean, next week, I guess the Jacksonville Jaguars
4 in a row.
1 week. No, I don't think so. But
Okay.
I mean, yes, it's a performance-based deal,
4
right?
in a row
This
is
week to week.
serious. How many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks lost 4 in a row in the season they won the Super Bowl?
In the
So
season,
I know you don't know
Super
off the top of
Bowl,
your head, but I just
yeah, I
can't
don't know.
imagine.
I don't know.
4 in a row? That's a lot.
But I did see something on Twitter today that Tom Brady did lose 4 in a row his second year in the league and throw a bunch of picks, like 7 or 8 picks. And that's Tom Brady, year 2. So I'm not saying that this guy's Tom Brady because I don't believe he is, but I do think he's the best quarterback they have. And I do think that I think Shanahan believes that. I think the players really believe that. I know what you're saying, though. At some point, especially if Brock
Did
keeps
you hear
taking
Fred Warner?
headshots.
Would you hear Fred Warner yesterday? Like the first question to Fred Warner in the post-game press conference was, someone said, "Do you still have confidence in Brock Purdy?" Fred Warner just goes, "What do you want me to say to that?" I don't know, Larry. I feel like when a quarterback who has fewer than 16 career starts doing erratic stuff, people are like, "Do we really know this guy?" He's still green.
He is
still green.
He is, but Grant, it takes a while. I mean, this kid is 23 years old, and we're what, a dozen starts
He's
in.
24, Larry.
But I mean, he's such a young player. I mean, Steve Young didn't make it happen until he was 31. Kurt Warner, who was breaking him down today, didn't even get to the NFL until he was like 27. I'm just saying, this guy. Give this guy.
That's why I think Sam Darnold deserves a chance.
I think what it's teaching us is that there's so many things that go into playing quarterback in the NFL, and it's no different than baseball when a guy comes up and he's throwing strikes, or he's like Casey Schmidt, he looks great. All of a sudden they turn off his water. He can't handle this pitch. He's back in AAA. The league adjusts to you. You have to adjust back. If you can adjust back, you stay, and if you can't adjust back, you go. And that's going to be, every athlete's deal, and Brock's no different. So maybe the league's adjusted to some of the tendencies, Grant, that he's put on film over the course of a certain amount of time. Maybe they're adjusting to Kyle. Maybe their receivers running bad route combinations. Maybe I don't know what exactly the issues are across the board, but there's a lot that goes into it, and I think the guy's totally accountable.
You're seeing more man-to-man coverage. That's clear. That's why he's scrambling so much, for sure. But I think what also you're seeing is just the Niners supporting cast is coming back down to the mean. You lose Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, all of a sudden, you're in close games, which you haven't really been in that many close games. You've just been blowing teams out because you're on the best team. So now you're down 5 late. You're down 7 late. Like, that's a new situation for you. What are you going to do? Oh, you're going to throw back-to-back picks. Oh, you're going to lose the game. Like, maybe that's not what you'll do every time, but the fact that you've done it 2-3 times in a row is really troubling. And that's what makes me feel like, what?
You really feel like
forget Sam Darnold, but it makes me feel like this guy isn't the future. This guy isn't the franchise quarterback. That if he's actually on a team that is comparable to the team it's facing, that he can't elevate people around him. He's getting elevated and he makes nice plays, but once it's time for him to be the hero, down 5 in the 4th quarter, he's going to throw the pick. That's how I feel.
Well, he hasn't done it a lot. I mean, if you're saying that's how you feel he's going to be going,
he hasn't been in these situations a lot, and he's been.
So you're saying basically the last couple of games is what you think he's always going to be.
I'm concerned that he doesn't have the clutch gene. He hasn't had to show a clutch gene. He's had to be clutch and be a hero the last couple of weeks, and he's been the GOAT. And so I'm not saying he's going to be the GOAT every single time he's down 5 in the 4th quarter, but I don't trust him at all. I think he's the kind of guy that can get up on you early, and if he doesn't, we'll see what happens.
I think I think we all just need to lower our expectations for what he is. This is a guy that can come in and play good. What's that?
Speak for yourself, Larry.
Well, no, I'm just saying I have basically said that I think this guy's got a lot of future, and I think he's way ahead of his time, and I think he's, very, very advanced in so many ways, and I believe in him, and I won't back off of that. I think he's got the right temperament. I think he's got the right physical ability. I think he can make all the throws. I believe in Brock Purdy that he's a good quarterback, and I think he'll be their quarterback going forward. But he doesn't. We can be honest about his strengths and weaknesses. The guy's strengths are his processing ability and his kind of feel and kind of his calmness for the most part. And he's very, very competitive. I think those are his strengths. His weaknesses, he doesn't have the big fastball, so that means he's got to be precise. He's got to be smart with the football. He's got to be on over his. He's got to have the right mechanics. He can't just wing it. He's not like Flacco or something who just has a gun. So he's got to maximize everything. So I think you can win with this player.
Hold on,
I think the filibuster on Brock.
You keep overlooking the turnover thing, Larry. That is the whole thing with Brock. 6 turnovers in the last 3 games is concerning. That is the thing with Brock. Is he a turnover machine?
Doubt.
That's it.
No doubt.
I don't care about his physical dimensions. Is he going to be turning the ball over like this? Because he can't play like Brett Favre. He's not that guy. He doesn't give you enough big plays to play like that. He was playing smart for a while. Now it feels like he's being reckless. And that's what concerns me most. So I want you to address the turnover thing, and then we can move on to the super chats.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll tell you this. I'm not concerned.
Okay.
I'm really not concerned. I think this guy, without a doubt. Well, no, I just think this is the best player they have. And right now, what I saw, because I'm watching this thing right there, up close, on the binocs. I'm watching it at the line of scrimmage, and I'm watching this guy, and he's under all kinds of duress yesterday. He's making all kinds of plays. He's running for first downs. He's making a lot of plays. He didn't make those 2 plays. They were duds. But, we're talking about a guy who's made a lot of plays and won a lot of games in a short amount of time. All I would say is you can go to Sam Darnold, but to me, in the name, I think without a doubt, if you ask Shanahan, he would say that Purdy's his best quarterback, and he'll stay with Purdy until Purdy's too hurt to play. That would be my feeling.